because I think this meeting business has caused me a heavy amount of time on the icebreaker. All right. So I just talked about different steps of digital transformation, different pillars, if I may use that word, of transformation. First of them, I talked about the process optimization itself, process transformation, where new kinds of workflows have to emerge. You can use new engine workflows. You can use artificial intelligence. You can use obviously you use cloud as well. So all these things you can leverage and use it. And why do you use it? You automate this for efficiency, a higher efficiency and cost reduction, those being the common denominators, right? Now, second pillar, which is very important, is how do you enhance the customer experience? That's extremely important. How do you enhance the customer experience, right? Personalized user interactions, right? I'll give you several examples, going forward, where you realize how companies have radically redesigned the way they used to do business, right? That's very important, right? Personalized user experience, optimize digital products, tailor-made digital products using digital inputs to suit the exact requirement of the customer, right? Could anybody believe that a company like Nike will give you, if your shoe size is not 8 or 9 but 8.5, which is not something which is available in their stores, but you can order it on site, online, and you can get that, right? There are lots of examples like that. So streamline the entire customer delivery system to optimize that value chain. I think that is essentially what happens. As I briefly mentioned earlier, the cultural transformation of the organization is far more important. Because you can hire talent, you can get technologies, you can acquire technology, you can pay for vendors who will bring that technology, right? But unless the cultural transformation has happened, unless that reorientation of the mindset has happened, things will not improve as much as you would like them to improve, right? Change management is very important, right? If you're going for a digital transformation of an organization, there are a lot of people in the organizations which would like to have a status quo. They would not like to make changes, radical changes at all, right? How do you take care of them? How do you align them with the new vision which the organization has for the product or the service, operations, processes, customer delivery, customer interface, after sales service? How do you ensure that the mindset is open for that change? I think that's very important, and therefore the cultural, while I mentioned this as a third pillar, but perhaps the cultural transformation comes as the first step. That's very important. Product and service transformation. Legacy products, the old generation products. How do you make them digitally enabled, right? Today in factories, right? There are factories today where there's no need for any worker or a manager there on the shop floor at all, right? You can control the process flow on the shop floor sitting somewhere else through IoT devices, right? Internet of Things, you have heard, right? What the Internet of Things is? Internet of Things is nothing but using the sensors on machines, which enables the entire manufacturing process to be managed and controlled even from a remote location, right? And what workers used to do earlier, which is not a good story from an employment perspective, but I have been, let me tell you, when I had gone there as a British traveling scholar to UK, I had an opportunity. This is talking about the year 1998. We had gone to a factory called British American Tobacco in Southampton in UK. Imagine, almost 29 years ago. And they had the first generation robos available. In my entire 2 days that I spent in that factory, I would have seen only 30 people. That was largest tobacco factory in UK, only 30 people, the kind of automation that they were using, right? I have been to a Mercedes plant in Germany. This is also 7, 8, 9 years ago, right? And there the next generation robots had come. In some of the shop floors, I couldn't find a human being at all, right? The entire work was being done by robots, right? See, through a prism of timelessness, some of the people who believe in the old thought, old school, old ways of doing things, can hope that this change will not bother us, right? See, today, anything that you do, we are in for a global competition, right? I'll give you a very crude example, right? You've seen all Lakshmi Ganesh ka jo statues hote hain Diwali mein jo kumhar banate hain, right? The potters on the potter wheel, they make it and then they bake it on fire and then they color it, right? The potter community can say, why should we do that? We can keep on improving the product, but why should we bother about, because this is something which is localized, right? Within a few miles of the city, the potter community will deliver to all the requirements, right? Who could have imagined 10 years ago that majority of the statues that you get today will come from China, right? Could anybody have thought? So nobody, the sooner we remove this thing from our mindsets, we are comfortable in our small market, small product areas, small this thing, and we are not prone to the global competition. The sooner you remove this concept, we'll understand, right? Indian universities, right? Today, the new education policy that you have. I had an opportunity to contribute to some of the chapters. Working with Dr. Kasturi Rangan, who was the chairman of that committee. And I was also the member of a special task force set up by Ministry of Education, which had formulated, the concept for, strategic planning for higher education institutions. See, today what happens, our higher education institutions, right? How do the companies have a strategic planning department, right, which plan the future strategy and growth of the organization? Who does this work in universities? If you're lucky to have a very bright and a vice chancellor or a director or a principal of the Spark, then he or she will do it. And the next person will say, oh, all those decisions taken by the earlier guy were wrong, and let me revisit that and let me redo that, right? So how do you ensure that the strategic planning for organizations become a part of life? That was a part of that special task force, and believe me, what we saw, and in the new education policy later, today the floodgates have been opened for top 100 or 200 ranked universities in the world to have their campuses in India, right? Do you know that there are at least 3-4 foreign universities which already have campuses here in the country? You have at least 20-25 more universities knocking the doors and going at different stages of approvals from Ministry of Education to set up campuses here, right? So this competition will come in every aspect, right? How did institutions like Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute of Medical Sciences and King George's Medical University, did they ever think that they'll face competition from the likes of Medanta and Max and Apollo in Lucknow? In 10 years back, they would never have imagined that you'll have competition like that coming in, right? So every area, they could care less because the kind of number of patients they handle still is very, 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 very huge, right? So their existence is not being challenged, right? But the creamy layer of the society has moved to these corporate hospitals. They don't go to the KGMUs and Medanta and PGI of the world, unless there is a very specialized consultation which you don't have in private hospitals. Otherwise, they've all moved to the corporate hospitals, right? So everywhere there's a competition. That's very, very important, right? So how do you move? How do you digitally enable even your legacy products? I think that is the challenge. And these products need to be connected to IoT devices, as I just gave you the example of an auto manufacturing shop floor, or through software as a service, right? Today, for example, let's talk about a payroll application or a CRM, customer relationship management application, right? Today companies don't have to develop that software. They are third-party providers which give you software as a service, right? You buy their licenses and start using the software for your own company. So they'll have different instances of the same software available for your company's operations, and you run that right from day one. You start using that application. Payroll. All companies used to develop payroll applications for themselves. Today very few companies do that, because payroll application is available under software as a service, like as a utility. Like you open the tap and water starts coming. Something like that, right? Or you switch on, the electricity comes in, right? And lights up the room or air conditions the room or puts fans in the fans start working, right? The same way, the software is getting available as a utility, like electricity and water, right? So these are the kind of changes which are happening, right? And the huge gap opportunities. I think that's something else that we need to understand very clearly. Data-driven insights into new markets, right? Today, I mean, you go to some hotels in the US and elsewhere, right? And they have such sophisticated customer relationship management softwares available that they can tell you that this customer wants the bed sheets to be of a pink color or a blue color or towel of a gray color versus a sparkling white. And next time when you go there, check in, you don't have to ask for it. They would already have catered for it, right? So how does it happen? Not because somebody in housekeeping remembers, right? Because it's all data driven, right? So unless you capture the data, how will it happen? Unless the person says, I don't like this white bedsheet, can you make it blue or gray? Then one is the person, employee comes and changes, the other person, he changes and also feeds it in the customer relationship database that the person has a preference for a particular color, right? Or a person wants a smoking room or a non-smoking room, right? Small things, how do you capture and then address? This is only possible if you redesign the business using digital transformation, right? So I think let's discuss some examples. I think it's very important. How many of you have heard about IKEA? Raise your hands. Few. IKEA are furniture, big mega furniture stores, right? Furniture stores, and where you don't hire a carpenter, right? You just go there, products available, you just have to, and they are dismantled, and you just have to go buy, take them home and nut and bolt them, and then it starts becoming operational, right? Now this was their old model. There were manual catalogs. You go to their stores used to be mega stores, big stores, generally on the outskirts of the city. Why? Because the real estate was cheaper there. If you can't have it in Hazratganj or in Palacio, because that space will be very expensive. And there, the furniture is to be laid up, arranged and in look-alike bedrooms and drawing rooms and so on and so forth. So it was a huge space-intensive requirement of IKEA. Now, and there used to be manual catalogs. You go there, see their product, and just take it home and reassemble it yourself, because and start using it. Today, how IKEA has used digital transformation, that they have an application, they have challenge, where you can have an immersive 3D Omni model using augmented reality and virtual reality products. For example, you go online, right? Like an IKEA product, you feed in the picture of your home and share the dimensions of this room where I need a bed, a double bed. This is the size of the room and this is the side of the bed. Can you place the bed and show me how it looks? Believe me, almost like a picture of a room you'll get generated and three-dimensional from different angles. You can see and visualize. कभी-कभी होता नहीं, हम फर्नीचर घर ले गए और सोचा अरे ये तो बड़ा अच्छा लग रहा था, घर में फिट ही नहीं हो रहा, or it's not looking good at home. Doesn't it happen, right? Or anything, even a curtain, right? You buy a curtain, it looks very fancy in the shop floor, but it doesn't look good in your home, right? Or it will look better in your home. What possibilities are there, right? So they are able to move away from the brick and mortar. I mean, they have not closed down their brick and mortar this thing, but the total investment they had in real estate in terms of those mega stores where they used to sell products from, that has come down, because lot and lot customers have started ordering it online, because what was not possible in a showroom, because showroom will have a standard bedroom and 3-4 bedrooms and different types of beds will be shown. Here the product you are able to customize based on your bedroom, your living room, your dining room, or your study, your study room, and you can pick up the furniture and place it and see how will it look, it will become too heavy for the room, right? Sometimes you get a feeling, to gaya, the room is not that big, looking very horrible inside, right? So you choose the appropriate product. So it is only possible if you have a digital transformation. And through these techniques, through augmented reality and virtual reality techniques, it allows customers to digitally place furniture into their homes before they take a buying decision, right? Domino's Pizza, right? 15 years back, the entire only model they had, you go to the outlets, order and have pizza. Today majority of the business that Domino does is through home delivery, right? Now, is the home delivery possible without technology? Just not possible, right? You don't even have to phone. I mean, you can use the phone, but they don't encourage you to do the phone. They encourage you to place an online order, right? And in 15 minutes time, pizza will be oven fresh. Pizza will be there at your home, right? Do you think it's even possible? You know, how many of you use Olas and Ubers of the world? Most of us use it, right? Kind of thing. Do you think without technology? Now, this is not a digital transformation. Ola and Uber is not digital transformation. Ola and Uber's business model itself started on, riding on the top of technology, right? This shared mobility which you have, it was not possible unless, why you pay, sometimes you